Let's start with macro. First thing we got from yesterday, if you missed this on the market close, we do have money market fund updates. They are up 41 billion, now 6.9 trillion in money market funds. Didn't expect this. I was surprised. I thought money market funds would go down, or I thought there would be more outflows, but there were not more outflows. There were more inflows than outflows to the tune of about $45 billion. So one of those things that's not really bearish or bullish, just something to recognize in terms of some money might be leaving a little bit of the markets and coming into more safe assets as well. Now, another thing that's really important is that, the market's at all-time highs. Literally, SPX hit 611 yesterday. Incredible. But money market funds are up, which means disposable income inside of high yield savings accounts or brokerages probably entered into the market. I mean, you saw what I did this week. I put about 60,000 of cash to use in the market. And so that wasn't from a money market fund, so it's not going to show as an outflow, but it's still cash that I had on the sidelines, theoretically, that got to be used in the market. So I think the surge in the equities that we saw this week is highly explainable, even with the money market fund increases from people just having money in their brokerages from profits that, they've never deployed, or from high yield savings accounts that allowed them to gain a little bit of a bump. So money market funds are up, and we'll see if that ends up coming down. We saw new tenant rents came negative yesterday. That was a really big piece of macro news that I don't think a lot of the market is talking about, except people that are really in the weeds of the macro. But one of the ways to stay bullish is to look at different elements that could create disinflation, because we need disinflation to get CPI to come down, to get rates to come down. Trump also said yesterday that he thinks rates should be coming down around the world, so we'll talk more about that. And that going negative since 2010 is a clear indicator, not a lagging, but a leading indicator that shelter inflation is coming down. And if shelter inflation is coming down, then I think that is going to be very, very exciting for the potential of getting more rate cuts. Speaking of rates, one country that did not give us a rate cut, but rather gave us a rate hike was Japan. So we talked about this for the past week. I think we've been previewing it pretty well. If you've been tuning into the show daily, the idea was that it would be a nothing burger, and pretty much last night it was a nothing burger. So the Bank of Japan raised rates by 0.25%. Now their benchmark rate is at 0.5%. This is the highest rate they have had in 17 years. Japan's inflation actually beat expectations as well. Japan's CPI came in at 3.6% versus expectations of 3%. So it kind of makes sense for the 8-1 decision by the Japanese government to get people to raise rates in order to potentially get inflation to also start coming down. Now, the last time this happened in August, we had the yen carry trade, and Robinhood went to 14, Palantir went to 20. The S&P 500 fell 10% to 507. The VIX was up 600%. That's probably not happening this time. And the reason that's not happening this time is because we looked at the data yesterday from CFTC. The yen short float peaked in July, which is a really good thing, because that means people are just not as short the yen as they were back in July, which means the carry yen trade can't really unwind because everyone already began deleveraging. And then finally, the US dollar is very strong. It's almost at 2022 levels. We need it to come down a bit. We know that the dollar has to relax a little bit. It doesn't have to go back to 90, but it definitely can't stay at 110. And so one of the ways to get the dollar to come down is for other countries to raise their currencies and the strength of their currencies against the dollar. And based on what Japan did yesterday, we got the dollar at 107. 107. Not bad. Not bad at all. This thing was stuck at 110 and almost hitting 112 over the past 2 weeks. So it's really nice to see that coming down based on the rate decision by Japan. Overall, kind of a nothing burger. USD to JPY, not really changing too much. I expect this to come down a little bit, but not come down that aggressively. And so as a result, Japan raising rates is just kind of not that big of a deal. And those were some of the core macro stuff that we had going on last night. So again, Japan raised their policy rate to the high since 2008. We had the dollar dropping to a 1-month low. We had the UK private sector activity expanding for 2 straight years, which was very good. Their PMI rose to 50.9, so good private sector activity in the United Kingdom. And then we had Mexican economic activity slowing a little bit more than expected. We got that data this morning. It was up by 0.5%. The market was expecting 0.6%. Again, not that big of a deal, but nonetheless, there was a little bit of a miss there. And then finally, money market funds did come down or go up to $6.9 trillion. So that is most of the macro news after a pretty big macro week last week, but nothing too crazy. And now we get ready for JPOW. Next Wednesday, Microsoft, Meta, Tesla all report on the same day. And we've got Jerome Powell. So that's I think I'm actually going to be streaming like all day, because we end the stream at 12 p.m. anyway. And like the rate decisions at 2 p.m. Maybe we take that little 2-hour break, or maybe we just go the whole way. And then you got earnings coming up. Like that is going to be a wild day on Wednesday. But we're going to have a lot to talk about and a lot to go deeper in there. Oh, yeah, SoFi's Monday. I forgot. SoFi's Monday. I did buy 100 shares of SoFi yesterday. I don't think I told you guys. I think I forgot to tell you guys on the market close, but I bought another 100 shares of SoFi yesterday. I think at like 1760. So now I have 200 shares of SoFi along with my options. And SoFi right here, 1810, up 0.39%. Look, I'm a little worried that SoFi does the pump and dump because it tends to do that. But again, if there was any quarter where SoFi would not do the pump and dump, I think it's got to be this quarter. I think it's got to be this quarter. Why do I think it's got to be this quarter? Well, we got a piece of news that this is a good segue into from yesterday that could be very beneficial for SoFi. So Phil says, I'll order you lunch for the all day show, Mitch. Just let me know what you want. Phil, that's very nice. I'll make sure I have, I'm not going to eat that day. Whenever it's hard to eat when I'm streaming because like you can't really talk and then, like there's food. It's like, so I'm probably just going to not eat for 9 hours that day. I've done that before on big earnings day. I just don't eat. And then at the end of the stream, I'm like, I'm a little hungry. We did that on the inauguration. I don't think I ate for like 6 hours. And then at the end, I was like, yeah, let me go get some food.